Hey guys, it's Harleywood. One of the most controversial videos that I've had on the site is when I went to Blade Show 2015 and did a little intro video for this unit here. This is the Wicked Edge Pro, this is the Gen 3. In the back here I have the Field model. I'll show you both of those. And people in the comments, a lot of them blasted this thing, mostly because of the price. This unit here is $700, so there is a little bit of sticker shock. But I also believe in the right tool for the right job. If you are just somebody who sharpens an occasional hunting knife, obviously you're not going to spend this kind of money for a unit like this. But if you make your living sharpening knives, or let's say you're a big game outfitter and every single weekend you have hunters coming in and you can sell a service like this to them, this starts to make a little bit more sense. Now, if you are just the occasional weekend guy, something like this might be a little more applicable to you. This unit is $300, and I'll unbox this here in a few minutes. But the beauty of this system, as opposed to cheap things like these land skis or just some little field stones, is that it allows you to maintain a perfect angle on your blade. The way that these cam arms are set up, the way that this adjusts, is very, very well thought out. I've already done my SC4 here. I had to actually reprofile it because the angle on one side was different than the angle on the other side. And you can see that mirror finish on that blade there. It is hair popping sharp. I've already taken the hair off of this arm a couple times. Let's do a little bit more. It is razor sharp. It took me about 45 minutes, including the stropping, reprofiling it. I used some 400 grit stones to do a little bit of the reprofiling, and took it all the way up to these 0.5 micron strops. Very, very cool system. Keeps that angle perfectly. Let me go ahead and show you some close-ups, and then we'll demo this thing. Alright, so let's talk about how this works. There's a cam lever here, and you can see the action of it pinching the jaws closed. And when you really crank down, it locks it in tight. But there's also a little leveling tool on the side here. So you take that leveling tool, and you put it in one of the two slots right here, depending on how deep you want to get the blade. For this knife, I'm going to put it in the top, level the knife on top of it, lift the cam lever up, snap it down, pull the tool out, store it away. Now on the top here you'll notice these degree measurements. This is a super simple way, you can see them moving, of changing the angle of your stones against the blade. This is probably one of the best things about this. All of you guys who commented on the previous video about how the WorkSharp is a better unit than this, and your normal water stones that you use at home and things like that. Some people even said that their little Lansky thing, which I have also, was better than this because of the price. This locks it in and keeps that angle and removes the human element from it. I've used the Lanskys. I've tried using just a flat stone, and getting your angle exactly perfect on every single stroke is nearly impossible. So this takes all of that human element out of it, locks your angle in, and makes sure that you get very, very precise passes with your stones. Alright, so how do you know when you have the right angle? Well, you don't necessarily. When you first get your knife, you probably are not going to know what the angle is. At Blade Show, I did see a really cool trick for figuring out the angle, so I'm going to go ahead and show you that here. In the Pro model, in the Field model over here, it comes with a black marker. You can use any Sharpie marker, but you actually want to take and run a small black line all the way to the shoulder of your blade. Alright, so there you can see the black marker along the edge of the blade, and then I'm going to take my stone, and as I'm working that edge, after only a few swipes, you can see that it took that, I was a little below the shoulder there, so I'll take that off, but it, on the actual cutting surface, on the actual bevel, it took all of that marker off. So I have it at 15 degrees here. That tells me that this is a 15-degree angle. Inside of their books that they send along with it, there's actually a spot in the back for you to keep notes on all of your different blades. So I'll go ahead and note that, and then I'll know in the future whenever I sharpen this blade to set the unit to 15 degrees. Alright, as I mentioned in the previous segment, the video that I did before this one, I had a lot of comments. A lot of pros, but mostly people, you know, quibbling about the price, and I get it. As I already mentioned, this is not for your average weekend person. But if you are somebody who can make a money off of knife sharpening, then this starts to make more sense. A lot of the comments were fanboys for the WorkSharp system. I've used that system. I actually did use it at Blade Show right after I got one of my knives sharpened, and I sat at that desk. The guys knew that I did reviews, and I sat at their booth for probably 30-45 minutes, basically as long as it took me to put a new edge on this Essie. And I tried, actually I had this Essie there, now that I think about it, and I tried to reprofile this, and I tried to get it down to a hair-popping, you know, grind on it, and even the guy that was demoing it couldn't get it down to be that sharp. The system is just not accurate enough. You know, for $125, $199, you're going to get what you pay for, and that system will put a utility edge on a knife, no doubt about it, but it's clunky, you cannot maintain the angle, and it's just apples to oranges. So I know a lot of those fanboys are going to watch this video. That's fine, feel free to jump in the comments and state your case, but we're really talking apples to oranges, guys. That thing does not hold a candle to this. And I even had some guys try to say that one of these Lansky systems that does the same thing for $49, come on, give me a break. If you've ever used this thing, it does not do the same thing. I mean, I've used these extensively on this knife, in fact, never got it to be this sharp. So, not even a valid comparison. Fanboys, you know, make your argument, but you're going to fall on deaf ears. This system is very well thought out. It comes with, I'll post a link to where you can buy some of the different strops and the different stones. It comes with everything from water stones to ceramic to strops, even some kangaroo leather strops, down to very, very, very tiny micron levels. This one is 0.5 microns, and this is what I actually got, the mirror finish on the Essie here. It is, I mean, just an amazing system. So it's heavy, it stays put on the table. God, this thing's got to weigh 10 or 15 pounds. So it's obviously not a travel model, which again, I'll get into the field model here in a few minutes. But let's go ahead and finish up this blade, and then we'll get into the field model. Alright, so I've taken this blade all the way up to the 1000 grit stones, and it's fairly sharp. This is what I would call a very good utilitarian edge on it. However, it is not hair-popping sharp yet. It is sharp, but you can see there's a little bit of resistance. Okay. Once it gets going, it's pretty sharp. Okay, that's just the 1000 grit. Let's go ahead and get into the 1.4 microns, take it down to the 0.6, and let's see where we're at then. Alright, so one thing I did notice when I was sharpening the Essie that I do want to make you aware of in an honest review is that if you're going to sharpen something like a full flat grind that the Essie actually does have, you might have to put a little shim in one side on this because of the way this pinches it. And this is not anything specific to this device. You're going to have this problem whether it's the Apex Pro, no matter what device you're using. It is going to have a tendency when it bites, if you put the teeth, especially if you put the teeth up too high, when they bite, it's going to try to flatten out one side. See if I can get the camera to focus. It's going to try to flatten out on one side, and it's going to turn the knife maybe half a degree or 1 degree, and that is going to change the angle on one side while you're sharpening the knife. So all I did was I stuck a shim down in one side, got it back to being perfectly, horizontal, or vertical, excuse me, and then continued and didn't have any problems. Alright, so really I've been working this blade probably only about 10 minutes, if even that. I am down to the 0.6 micron ceramic stones there, and already I can tell you can tell by the sound when you're working the metal. You can tell by the sound when there's very little resistance. You don't hear that grit. Like if I were to stick this 400 or 600 back on there, I mean, you just hear it ripping through the metal. And that is also one of the pros of this over something like the WorkSharp. The WorkSharp, you can't as easily control how much metal you remove from your blade. And I mean, it just, especially if you put a heavy grit belt on that thing, it'll just rip right through it, and you can't really control that. With this, you have full control. You're gonna have to take a little bit more time, but this is really kind of the Cadillac of what I consider knife sharpening. I mean, the WorkSharp is kind of the the Toyota Camry. It'll get you there. It's not going to be the prettiest thing, and I don't know if you'll ever get to this hair-popping sharpness. Now, in the comments, here it comes. You'll see all the fanboys jumping in. But like I said, I had a blade, my EDC blade, my ZT-0350, sharpened at Blade Show. Got it razor hair-popping sharp. The guy worked on this thing for probably about 10-15 minutes total. And then he took it down to strops and worked for about another 5 minutes, which I'm going to get to here on this one. But when I took this SE4 and walked by the WorkSharp booth, the guy worked on this thing for a while and couldn't get it hair-popping sharp. Again, every time you slightly differ your angle, and I know it has those stupid little guides and all that, I don't want to hear it, but you just can't get the precision that you can with this. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out to the strops now, and before I even start stropping, we'll show you how the sharpness of this may have changed. Alright. Wow, huge difference. I'm not even putting any pressure. And this is just very flimsy magazine stock. And here's what some consider the ultimate test. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. Look at that. The hairs literally jumped off of my arm. They were literally popping up in the air. There's your hair popping sharp. Let's switch over to the strops and put a mirror polish on this. So knife sharpening is about consistency and repetition, right? The beauty of this thing is that I can consistently put it into the unit at the same exact depth every time using my little stop here, and the repetition of a consistent angle. It is a beautiful thing. Now, with these strops, these are the 1 micron and the 0.5 micron strops. They also come with these diamond pastes, all right, and these little applicators. Each one tells you this is the 1 micron paste and this is the 0.5 micron paste. So I'm going to start with the 1 micron, and we'll use the 1 micron paste, yep, this one here, and start putting a polish on this. Going to add just a little bit of water and rubbing alcohol. Give it just a little bit more lubricity. Can't even hear it. It just sounds like butter. Alright, let's wipe off this excess compound and see what we got. Look at that mirror edge. Shit. Not even putting any pressure, I'm just letting the weight of the blade kind of travel through. Alright, so in a total of about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 30, I was able to put a razor fine edge, hair popping sharp onto two blades. Very consistent angles, got to give it up to Wicked Edge for this cam system of adjustment. However, again, I understand the price concerns. $700 is a lot of money for something like this, and unless you can find a way to monetize it for yourself, probably doesn't make sense for you. So let's go ahead and pop open the field kit and see what you get for $299. Alright, so this is the field model. Comes in a very nice case, a place to put your stones. All of your equipment fits in here very nicely. It is one of their first models, and they now deem it their field model. It's $299. Let's get this out, get it set up, and kind of show you the difference. Alright, so pros and cons to this one is it is a little more portable, obviously. However, in being more portable, it is not quite as steady. It does have this C-clamp. The C-clamp that it's provided with does not exactly open wide enough to mount it to this particular table, so for demonstration purposes I have this board. However, some of the pros of this, the Pro model, the Gen 3, is limited to a 3/16 inch blade. That cam only opens up wide enough, well, it opens up wide enough to take a 1/4 inch, but it won't clamp down. This one opens up quite a bit wider, and if you have something like an SC5 and you need a little bit more space to get a 1/4 inch blade in there, you will not have that problem with this one. Another benefit to this one is that the arms are independently adjustable. So let's say you have a knife that from the factory has a 15-degree angle on one side and a 16-degree angle on the other side. You can very easily set these arms to be slightly different and accommodate for that blade. Aside from that, it works very, very similar. Has a small Allen bolt that you tighten down on the side here. Holds that blade very securely. Now this is not mounted to the table, so I'm going to be very careful doing this because I don't want this thing to fall over in my lap. But when you do it, obviously mount it to something that's a little more stable. Aside from that, it's very, very similar. Now I'm not going to actually work this blade with the 600 grits because that will dull it. I already have that razor edge on it. But essentially, it's a very nice portable setup. And if you wanted to break it down and take it in something smaller than the case that's provided, I'm sure you could easily do that. Very, very nice system. For $299, I would say this rivals the Edge Pro Apex. I mean, this thing, it seems a lot more consistent with the angles. Unlike the Edge Pro, this one allows you to do both sides and kind of work, you know, double fast. Whereas the Edge Pro, you're going to have to work one side, flip the blade over, work the other side. The Edge Pro is more of a glorified, you know, Lansky sharpener like the one I showed earlier. So very nice system here, and yeah, I'm impressed. Alright guys, so there you have it. That is the Wicked Edge system. There's the field model on the left, the Gen 3 Pro on the right, $299 for the field model, $700 for the Pro model. I'll post a link below to each of those in the description of this video. You can see which stones they come with. They come with a variety of different stones. However, you can buy the strops, the ceramics, the wet stones. You can buy a plethora of different stones for these devices. Very, very impressed. Hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you liked the video, please hit subscribe below. Lots more videos to come, and we'll see you on the next one.